This is Podcast Basics Part 1, Recording Calls with Skype. I'm Michael Surkan, and this is a production of PracticalPodcasting.com, the website that teaches you how to build the professional relationships you need to succeed in business or careers. The first step to successful podcasting is to have your computer set up to record calls. We like using the software Skype. This is a free messaging and communications tool that anyone can download and install on their computer. When you are calling other people who are on Skype, it's totally free, but we use it primarily for calling our guests on standard telephone lines. There is a small fee when you call telephones from Skype, and this is something that you can pay by the minute for a very low fee or pay by the month. And it's a very small cost to pay for being able to have a great communications tool for recording your calls. The other thing that we strongly recommend is that all people doing podcasts use USB headsets. Many computers have built-in microphones these days, but do not use them. Please use a USB headset. It doesn't have to be very expensive. You can even buy a $20 USB headset that has the microphone and the headphone piece that you put on your ears to listen to. The quality of your calls will be much better. When you're talking into built-in microphones, you often get interference between the microphone and the speakers, and it's always better to use a USB headset. Once you have your USB headset and you've plugged it into your computer and you've installed Skype, which is something we're not going to get into in this video, you want to verify that it is working properly. You can go under Tools and Options and Audio Settings to verify that Skype is using your USB headset. If you don't, you might inadvertently be using the built-in microphone of your computer instead of the USB headset. And once you've done that, you can further verify that your configuration is working properly by calling the Echo Sound Test Service, which is a standard item in the contact list for everyone who has Skype installed. And this is a great tool that allows you to verify if Skype is working well. It works very much like a voicemail system. You hear a standard Skype voicemail system come up, ask you to record your name, you record a message, you record it, and it plays it back to you. And if you can hear your message coming back, you know that you've configured Skype properly. And then you're set to make your call. Now, once Skype is set up, after you have Skype all properly configured to make calls, now you want to make sure you can record those calls. There are a lot of plugins available for Skype for recording calls. The tool that we use, the plugin, is MP3 Skype Recorder. And you can download MP3 Skype Recorder at VoIPCallRecording.com. This is a free plugin with a simple installation that will automatically generate MP3 files from your Skype calls. Whether you're calling an outbound telephone or whether you are calling someone else's Skype configuration, because you can do calls Skype to Skype. And the quality, by the way, of calls, when both parties are using Skype, the quality of the calls is almost like a radio studio. It's excellent. Calling telephones from Skype is very good. The quality is still very good of the calls. And most of the podcast interviews that I conduct myself are calling telephones because it has very little hassle on my guests. The only thing they have to have is a phone. The only thing I do insist for my guests is that they do not use cell phones. The quality of recorded calls when your guest is on a cell phone is not very good. So it's fine if your guest only can talk from a telephone and they don't have Skype configured on their own computer, but do insist that they use an actual landline or at least a non-cell phone. Because even if they're using a VoIP configured phone like a Cisco voice over IP telephone or something, those are going to be of a higher bandwidth and have better quality than if they were using a standard cell phone. So once you you've installed the MP3 Skype Recorder plugin to Skype, then you're going to verify that the MP3 Skype Recorder plugin is working by doing a little test message and then finding the MP3 file and playing it. Once you have Skype installed, you will see and you've created an account on Skype, you will see all of your contacts over on the left, and you will be able to configure many other options in the Tools menu. So the first thing we recommend you do is go to the Tools menu and to Options. And under Options you will find Audio Settings. And Audio Settings is where you go to ensure that you are using your USB headset. And as we've mentioned before, the USB headset is what you want to be using. This is critical, or else the quality of your calls will not be very good. So make sure you have your USB headset plugged in, then go under the Options, Tools, Options, and Audio Settings on Skype and verify that you are using your USB microphone. Once you've done that, the next step is to go to the Echo Test Service, which everyone has. This is already a predefined contact that everyone has in Skype. And what you do is you'll call this service, and it's just an automated voicemail box that allows you to record a message and it plays it back to you. And we're going to try that right now. I'm clicking on Call to call the Echo Sound Test Service. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to configure the system sounds to be recorded in this video, so you're going to have to take my word for it that when I used this Echo Test Service and recorded a message, it did actually play back to me. So in your own tests, you'll hear a voice come from the automated voice system asking you to leave a message. You talk into the system, into the microphone, and it will play it back to you, and you'll know that you've had success. The message was played back to us. So now we are confident that Skype is configured properly, that we have our USB headset working, and we are actually able to make calls. The next step is to now configure Skype to use the MP3 Skype Recorder plugin so that it can record the calls into MP3 files. To find the MP3 Skype Recorder software, go to VoIPCallRecording.com and download it. There is a free version of MP3 Skype Recorder, and all you're going to do is click on it and save it to your computer. I have saved the zip file with the MP3 Skype Recorder software to my desktop, and I'm going to open the zip file, and now I'm going to actually install or click on the file to install it. So I'm installing the plugin, and it's asking me what folder to put it in, but I'm just going to keep it with the defaults, and I'm just going to say next. If you don't have the .NET framework installed, which is a Microsoft library for applications, you will be prompted to have it automatically installed for you, and it will walk you through some web pages, and you'll have to click download and install the Microsoft framework. The Microsoft .NET framework is already being installed on this computer, so it's not asking me for that. And on newer versions of the operating system in Windows Vista and Windows 7, you won't be prompted at all because the .NET framework is included automatically when the operating system is installed in the first place. But since I'm using Windows XP, the very first time that I tried to run the MP3 Skype Recorder install, it did ask me to install the Microsoft .NET framework first. So I'm just going ahead with the installation of MP3 Skype Recorder here, using the defaults to put it in the folder that it suggests. And MP3 Skype Recorder has already been installed. It's that simple. You will see that MP3 Skype Recorder automatically opened in the top left of my screen, and it's showing me some options. The options that I suggest you leave almost everything the way it is, except for a few things. I generally set MP3 Skype Recorder to start minimized. That means when my computer first boots up, it will be minimized. This window won't be open. I also set the recording bit rate to the highest I can, which is 128 bits. This way, when I record my conversations, it will be recording them in the highest quality possible. You can always save your conversation when you edit it in a slightly lower bit rate, but it's always best to record it in the highest rate that you can. And 128 bits is certainly more than adequate for the purposes of what we are doing. The recording mode is set to stereo by default, which means that each person who's talking will be on a different channel, which is what we want, and so leave it on stereo. And the next thing that I always configure is the file folder where it is going to store the MP3 files. This is very important because this is where you're always going to look to find your recorded conversations. You can use the default folder if you like. I usually change the folder to one of my liking, and I've already created a folder on my C drive inside of temp, and it's called voicemail. And so I've now changed MP3 Skype Recorder to store all of the calls that it records under the C:temp voicemail directory. That's where it'll be putting all of my recordings. Remember this folder. This is absolutely critical because in the future this is where you're going to have to go and look for your recorded calls, and you will see the MP3 files for each of the calls. You will also see that at the bottom of this MP3 Skype Recorder window there is a red message right now saying that it's waiting for authorization to connect to the Skype client. So we have installed the MP3 Skype Recorder, but now we have to confirm with Skype that it's okay for this plugin to be using it. So now we're going to go into Skype, and you'll see that Skype has already popped up with a message asking us whether we want to allow MP3 Skype Recorder to have access to use Skype. And I'm going to click Allow Access. And now we've configured MP3 Skype Recorder to work with Skype. Now that we've installed MP3 Skype Recorder, let's try making a test call to verify that it's working properly. Let's go to the Echo Sound Test Service, which is the standard contact that all Skype users have, and let's make a call. Again, since I'm unable to record the audio output from my PC, you're going to have to take my word for it that the message worked. And when I recorded my message, I did hear it back from the Echo Test Service. Now that we've made our call to the Echo Sound Test Service, let's go and check if an MP3 file has been created by MP3 Skype Recorder. As you will remember, I had configured MP3 Skype Recorder to store the recorded calls in the temp voicemail folder. And here we see there are some files stored there. The file names have the date and time at which the call was made, as well as the party that I was calling. And in this case, if you remember, we were calling the Echo Test Service, and it does say Echo 123 was the name of that's the name of the party I was calling. So if you were calling a telephone, it would have the phone number embedded in the name. If you were calling someone who had a Skype account, you would see their Skype ID. Now I'm going to play one of these files to see if it actually recorded the call properly. Although you can't hear it due to the audio recording problems that I'm having on my system right now, I am hearing the message played back just fine. Now that we have verified that MP3 files are being correctly created and that they are recorded conversations, we have verified that Skype is completely set up to make calls. And at this point, you are ready to start podcasting. You can find more excellent videos and information that walk you step by step through how to build professional relationships with podcasting and social networking to help you in your business and career at www.practicalpodcasting.com. Just go to our members area and register as a free member to access all of our great content.